watching, depending where you're tuning in from. I see everyone hopping in here, and if you want, there is a chat. I would love to hear where you're tuning in from, where you're watching. The four of us are all across the world here, so I would love to hear where you are tuning in from. But give a couple minutes here for some people to hop on. But while that happens, I'm going to share my screen a little while. Along with letting us know where you're tuning in from, a welcoming question that we were thinking of before we even dive into AR factoring, what it is, how it works, is right there on the bottom of the slide. When it comes to managing your accounts receivable, what would make the biggest impact on your cash flow? And but this is from your perspective, maybe your own clients, because I know a lot of our audience is bars that we work with. So what's something you see with your clients that you're working with? Trying to find help with faster payments, fewer manual steps, better visibility. Would love to know your thoughts. And even if you're rewatching this on YouTube later, please add it into the comments. We'd love to get your thoughts on some of this. But I'm in Pennsylvania, to add into what Nate and Yuri are adding in there. Before we go any farther, I think it's probably best to actually introduce ourselves, let people know who we are, and a little bit about how we tie into Pre-Sales Leader and AccuPower. My name is Sal Bunicor. I am the marketing coordinator for Technology Leaders Company, which is a parent company for Pre-Sales Leader. Technology Leader Company was founded just about a year ago now, and it's the parent company for Pre-Sales Leader, Business Consulting Leader, and Product Marketing Leader. So you'll hear a little bit of about those. But I have my hand in all of those different facets, helping on the marketing side. I'm just going to go down how my screen looks. Maybe this is different for you guys. But I would love to introduce Nate next. Nate, tell us a little bit your connection to the pre-sales AccuPower side and a little bit about what your role looks like.
Yeah, my name's Nathan Wan. I am the creative production lead for the product marketing side of Technology Leaders Companies. And so basically what I do is I do a lot of content creation, and I try to also assist our customers with their marketing strategies and their go-to-market strategies as well. So really our goal is to give you better content for more leads.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. I'm excited to see what you're going to be sharing with us later as we dive into the live demo here. So following my screen down, Yuri, thanks for joining the call. I would love to have you introduce yourself and introduce AccuPower a little bit.
Sure. So my name is Yuri, and I'm CTO and co-founder of Acupower, which means my role mostly is quite technical, but co-founder means suddenly you need to think kind of as business owner, which has its own pros and cons. And if to speak about Acupower, we have three main areas of activities. We develop new Acumatica modules and new products. We develop custom reports and integration, and of course, Acumatica customizations. We develop them for end customers, for VARs, and for ESVs. We love challenges, but sometimes people think that if they have trivial requests, they maybe don't need our attention. But I just can say that sometimes trivial requests may turn out into something really challenging. And also we help in managing of intellectual property. So if you have some kind of idea of extension for Acumatica, and you believe that it will help to make life of business much easier, you are more than welcome to message us, anybody in my team, and we will be happy to give you honest feedback on your idea. Is it really valuable or maybe not?
I appreciate it, Yuri. Thank you. Last but not least, Derek Groniger, our OG. I would love for you to take a second and introduce how you're connected here.
Yeah, Derek Groniger. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, kind of frozen today down here. I'm with the business consulting leader segment of technology consulting leader. We do design and implementations and optimizations for Acumatica customers. So my role has been primarily on the design and the project management side of things in this little business group, but we're dynamic and we change month to month. So looking forward to 2025, to be honest. We have a lot planned.
Yeah. Some exciting stuff ahead for all three of our practices. As well as AccuPower, you have a lot going on. But a little bit of background here, Yuri, maybe you can fill in some details for me that I have wrong. But AccuPower and Pre-Sales Leaders, we've been partnered together for about 6 months probably now. And over the last few months, really seeing a need in the Acumatica channel. Have been working with the development team at AccuPower to co-found a new solution here. Does that sound like a pretty accurate summary of our relationship together there, Yuri?
Definitely. And I would say, if to add on that, besides our Etherin solution, it's also getting independent and biased viewpoint, because we more, let's say, as technical people, we know how to add something to Acumatica, but sometimes it happens when we feel that something is definitely needed, but when we try to release it to market, we don't see such like need, and sometimes the opposite. For example, AR factoring. Prior to our involvement, I wasn't aware even what is AR factoring, and I even Googled what is that.
Yep. Hey, and hopefully we'll have, now that we know what it is, we'll be able to share all the answers for everyone else here. But yeah, before we dive into the content for our time here, I just wanted to let you know that if you have questions as we work through this content, please share them in the chat. If it's simple, quick, and easy, one of us will respond back over the chat. But we will have some time to dive into those questions a little bit later on as well. So I'm one of those people that if I don't ask the question right away, that I will forget about it. And when it comes time to ask questions, I won't remember any of it. So feel free, as those pop up, add those to the chat, and we'll get to those a little bit later on. But Derek, I want to hand it over to you first, my man, to do some quick explanation of AR factoring here. And you can let me know. I can click through these slides then for you as well.
Yeah, no, perfect. I'd be happy to. Just, a couple slides just to introduce, level set, make sure people understand, like Yuri, sometimes they're curious about what this is and sometimes they know all about it. So let's just take a couple slides just to level set here. So imagine having access to your cash flow kind of exactly when you need it without waiting months for customers to pay. That's what factoring is, right? It's also called accounts receivable factoring or invoice financing. But essentially, this is how it works. You sell for cash your unpaid customer invoices to a factoring company. And, they'll advance you 75 to 90% of that invoice value, direct deposit into your bank account within 1 to 2 business days. Really think of it as unlocking that cash that's tied up in your long-term receivables. And there's more. When the factoring company collects the payment from your customer, usually 30 days or more, you receive another direct deposit of that remaining balance, minus the factoring fee. So what's interesting about this program is it doesn't generate any debt, right? You're not taking out a loan, and there's no restrictions on this use of cash, right? So you can use it for payroll or anything. But what I like about it is your customer's paid invoice, it opens up credit for new orders, right? So it's a win-win to me. So this simple receivables liquidation process, it kind of empowers you to cover operational costs, invest in growth for 25, and maintain some financial peace of mind when cash flow and working capital are a big concern. So next slide, Sal. So Factoring, it's really designed to be accessible. I think I looked up on Google like Yuri did and found out that it's like a $4 trillion global market. And there's over 300 factoring companies in the US. So
Sorry,
designed to be accessible.
$4 trillion?
Globally. Yep. It's huge. It's massive. In fact, but there's qualifications, right, that you got to know in order to see if this is right for you. The first one is the focus is actually on your customer, not on you. So if your customer has good commercial credit, you're already ahead of the game. The next is they're looking for healthy profit margins on your products, right? Typically above 15%, and clear terms on your invoices are great candidates. But the ideal candidate for factoring are these larger invoices with payment terms that exceed 30 days, right? Those are really ideal for factoring companies, right? That's what they look for. And most importantly, or important on the side, is that these invoices have to be free of liens, and you've maintained a tax obligation, since those are your responsibility. But by meeting some of these basic qualifications, you can position yourself to take advantage of this AR factoring program and gain the working capital you need this in the coming year. So let's do the next slide, man. So factoring works across many industries. It's a real game changer for businesses that cash flow gaps can really disrupt operations. But for Acumatica customers, usually falls into one of these three categories. The first one, and my favorite, are the manufacturers. Usually upfront costs on raw materials, labor, creates a lot of delay between production and payment. Factoring bridges this gap and allows you to keep your operations running smoothly. Project-based manufacturers with long lead times and furniture manufacturers are good examples in this segment. Second one there are service providers. If you work with large corporations like Ford, AT&T, Walmart, examples that I've encountered, you face these approval times, these long approval cycles that kind of delay the payment. And factoring gives you service providers immediate liquidity to the payroll and overhead while waiting for these invoices to clear. Wireless telecom, field service providers, staffing agency, IT consultants all kind of get lumped into here. And then the final one from the Acumatica market space are the importers and distributors. If you're spending money to buy inventory up front overseas and then offering these extended terms to your big box retail clients, can create a real cash flow strain. So factoring allows you to maintain cash flow, see some new opportunities without waiting for these longer payment terms. And apparel distribution is one of those companies that falls into that category. So by addressing these challenges, factoring helps businesses across industries turn the invoice waiting period into growth opportunities. So I got one more slide, Sal, right? Yep, there it is. So factoring solves some cash flow issues. We've just seen that. But managing it in Acumatica ERP kind of presents some challenges. That's why our native Acumatica package simplifies and automates this transaction. Nate's going to show you that here in a sec. First common challenge is you got to manage the invoice transfer to the factor while keeping your customer's account intact. And our package takes care of this automatically by generating invoices for the factoring company and creating the credit memo for your customer. And this really ensures that smooth document tracking and the transparency. The second challenge is accurately calculating the factor fees and the remittance balances. Our solutions, these calculations like the advanced amounts, factoring fees, and remittance balances, these are all automated and reducing kind of manual errors, saving you lots of time too. And then lastly, I found that AR aging with factoring can be tricky. AR factoring in Acumatica, we keep these invoices visible for the factoring companies while the credit memos ensure the proper settlement and balance for your customer's account. As I said before, they're free to place another order with you because it just freed up all kinds of room on their credit line. So our Acumatica solution, expertly built and supported by AccuPower, automates these processes, so you can scale the use of this invoice factoring process in Acumatica, and in turn scale your business by doing so. So thanks for your attention, everyone. Hope that level set what factoring is. To turn it back over to you, Sal.
No, appreciate it. Preparing for this webinar, I put together content. I don't always make the content that goes into stuff. So it's like, there's going to be people who can at least explain what AR factoring is to me. So that was at least for my own edification, that was helpful. Thanks, Derek.
Yeah.
But awesome. Why don't we dive right into the solution itself? Nate, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and you can take over. So the floor is yours.
Let's see here. Let's share my screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's start. Thanks, Derek, for that description of what AR factoring is and what how we help those solutions with our solution here. But let's take a look at the product itself. So first off, I want to mention that this is a click-through demo that I'm sharing here. It's one of the pieces of content that we offer here at Product Marketing Leader. So if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us. But this is a live demo, and I can put the link here in the chat. So if you guys want to follow along, you're more than welcome to go there and check it out. Cool. So AR factoring, first things first. Was that a question or was that
no?
Something?
I didn't know you were going to share that out, man. That's amazing. Live participation.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna go through it right now, but if you guys want to go through it yourself, you're more than welcome to. So as you can see, we're starting off here. We're in Acumatica, so we add to Acumatica if you guys are familiar with it, and with just a little bit of a customization package. So it's nothing that you guys shouldn't be unfamiliar with. You should be familiar with it. We're just adding the functionality to your current process. But right now we have a sales order, and so this is the example that we're going to use for factoring. You can see that's a large order, and so the payment terms are going to be extended a little bit. So the thing that we've added here is the AR factoring details tab. This is not included with the out-of-the-box Acumatica solution. So if we click into that, we can see what our options are. And you can see it's a simple checkbox whether or not we're using this for AR factoring. This is all set up with our customer settings. So if we select this, we can see that now this is where we distinguish this transaction is going to be using factoring. And so the way we have this set up is you have this customer, Alta Ace, if you guys are familiar with the demo data. We can check this box to say, hey, we're going to use factoring for this invoice. We can also define who the factoring company is, which is ABC Holding in this demonstration. And you can also switch that with this search bar here. Real quick, the way we have this set up is in our customer settings page. Again, at the bottom here, you can see it's very simple checkboxes. We can see Alta Ace here is a factoring company, not a factoring company. They're a customer using AR factoring. So we have that checkbox checked. And then our ABC Holdings company, again, a simple checkbox. They are a factoring company. And then this is where we set our percentage fees. And we can go over that in our next part here, where we define from those customer settings, we have these percentage fees, the advance fee, the factoring fee, and the remittance fee for anything left over. And this is all the preset settings that we can have so the process can be as quick as possible. And so we've built that into this process as well to make it a good one. We can also have a section over here for the credit approval section. A lot of times with using factoring companies, there's a need for credit approval. And so we have a section in here, and that's also within the customer settings so that we can also have that built in and just make it the process as fast as possible. So let's continue forward. Once we have this determined, we can go through the normal sales order to invoice process, where we then save the sales order. We then prepare the invoice once the sales order is completed. Then, as usual, Acumatica will create an invoice for us. You can see the number here, 13655. And then we can check here, all information is correct. It was brought over from the sales order, all the regular Acumatica features here. And then we can still have our factoring details tab over here to make sure that we have the details we need. So let's go through this process real quick. Again, it's the same old thing. We can release that invoice once it's ready to be reviewed. we'll go over here, and I can see from our invoices page, there's our first invoice, the 13,655. So if you click into that, we're still in that same invoice, but we still have all the same details here. You can still see the factoring details tab here, and the reason why that's important is if I were to say have a different invoice, so if I click over here, I have a different invoice. This one's new, doesn't have a number yet, so I haven't saved it. And say you're a company that doesn't use sale orders, you just go to invoices, or you say along the line of your transaction process, you decide, okay, well, let's actually use factoring for this transaction. It's not really known at the sales order level. Well, you can still go into the factoring details tab, and we've added an ad hoc factor checkbox here for you to say, hey, we're actually going to use factoring for this transaction, and you can go ahead and choose your factoring company and your percentage fee settings right there. So that was just a cool feature I wanted to point out there before we keep going. But let's go forward. So let's say our invoice is ready to be processed. Obviously, we have the pay button up here, but the other feature that adds a little magic to what we're doing behind this product is the factor invoice action. Now, what this does is Acumatica will then automatically automate this process of creating the credit memo that Derek Groniger was mentioning earlier, as well as the invoice. And so here we can see the credit memo, and that is to replace the original invoice, right, the 13,655, and that's sent to the customer for documentation. And we also have this second invoice here that was created to be sent to the factoring company. So this is all part of that to make this process as easy as possible. Acumatica has automated this so that you don't have to go through and manually enter these. So if I go ahead and click into this new invoice, right, 13,656, this is a different document, we can see that this is what we're going to send to our factoring company. And then over here, we still have our factoring details tab, and this is where we can see that our original invoice was 13,655, and that's there for our reference there. So we can have it in documentation, we can have it in our reporting, which is also another huge part for things like the percentage fees and everything else that we have to do. This is huge for reporting if you want to look back and see what factoring has done, and profits over time. So that is the product here. I think we're going to move over into questions, right, Sal? I think it's the next part.
No, I appreciate you going through that. If you have any questions, please toss them into the chat there. I think the chat's off to the right side of your screen. I could totally be wrong on that too, but Nate, I appreciate that's. Sounds like it can be a super. Now that I'm learning about about factoring, what it is, it sounds like it can be a pretty complicated process, but through this solution, pretty able to quickly handle all that and streamline that entire process.
Yep, and just to answer Scott's question here, can you do this process in batch on a daily basis? This is Acumatica, so we can obviously have this in business events, and I think there is some batch processing as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. We've started also getting some questions, and I think, Sal, I even shared with you, it's probably the basis for a follow-up webinar is to talk about the bank fees and how those are applied, and to kind of maintain proper receivables on the factoring remittance side of things. So believe it or not, there's more complication behind this when you start applying real money to the invoices. So we'll save that for a follow-up webinar, but those are some other things that our package can help you out with, keeping that straight. We went through the simple example of just one invoice, one factor. Imagine if you had 75, 100 invoices. You had all those credit memos and everything going on. I mean, trying to keep track of this with notes, on the document, the invoices themselves, that's where you get errors. And unfortunately, but, from this perspective, I think you did a really clean job. I love that tool, that click-through demo. That's a great tool, Nate.
Yeah, it's a great option to kind of break up the videos and blogs that you normally see on the internet. Is a click-through demo.
Yeah.
Lets you kind of immerse yourself. We have another question here. Ruslan, if you can clarify your question, could we see it somehow, how factoring affects profitability? What do you mean by that question there?
while he types his question, I believe he means, let's say we have profit margin 25% on our invoices. If we apply AR factoring, how profit margins will be influenced? Let's say percentage profit margin or total money value of profit margin. Maybe that's what he means. That's my guess. Ruslan will type. Yeah, he says some report for AR factoring.
So I think going on in the future, we plan to build out some dashboards and some customized reports. I think is our plan for the future. At the moment, we don't have any specific reports built for this, but obviously you can build this into any reports you have currently in Acumatica, with the data that's involved.
I'm going to go research that question for you, Ruslan. It's a great question because normally the invoice would be paid in full, like you just saw with Nathan, but that 3% that the factoring fee is charging you, that's more of a bank expense, but that should impact the sales order margin, right? Because you're giving up something there, an implied discount. So let me go do some research for you on that. I like the question though. Good thought.
Yeah. Business person asks a business question.
Awesome. If there's any other questions, feel free to add them in and we'll get to them here. Nate, thanks for sharing that. Derek, thanks for giving us context. Yuri, I want to give you a second and just, is there any additional thoughts that you would like to add that Nate, Derek haven't covered about this AR factoring solution yet?
Well, I can say just that we have a couple of validations in our package. So we always make sure that total percentage is always 100. Ad hoc AR factoring is something that's kind of interesting. And I believe you've seen email chain notification when somebody asked about that. And I would say there is a potential of having one company having 2 AR factoring or 3 AR factoring, but that's, I would say, gray area. Not sure if we want to go into that route as of yet, but such feasibility in Acumatica, I would say, exists.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, good job, Nate.
Sorry, responding quickly, and I didn't see the name there.
Awesome. I'm just gonna either companies, Pre-Sales Leader or AccuPower. We would love to continue to answer your questions and give you more context and a more in-depth demo even for how AR factoring can fit your specific needs. So both our email contacts are there. You can find all 4 of us on LinkedIn as well too. But no, I see this fitting a huge need that Acumatica doesn't do already. So, gentlemen, I appreciate the time. Any last second add-ons, thoughts, questions? Give some people back some time in their day.
Give some people back. Yeah, we'd love to do a more in-depth demo for your client. If all of you VARs out there have somebody interested, like Scott did, we've got the resources and the expertise here to show the product off, give you some more in-depth on it. And if you have any other thoughts, if you've worked with an AR package, maybe in one of the other ERP systems out there, and maybe know a little bit more detail on what you'd like to see in the package, we're always looking for roadmap ideas, so throw it at us.
Absolutely. Awesome. If there's nothing else, everyone enjoy 30 minutes back to your day. And I will look forward to connecting with you all, hopefully at Summit here this coming week. So
have a great Summit, everyone.
3 of the 4 of us will be there. Derek is sitting this one out, but Me, Nate, Yuri, we will all be there. And yeah, looking forward to running into some of you here next week at Summit. So have a great rest of your day, everyone.